everyone, it's John with KGTropicals.com. It's Thursday, July 18th. Welcome to our first official episode of Tank Talk. First one that we're actually calling Tank Talk. It's really cool. I got a few things to update you on today, and then we're going to move on to what I believe is a really good topic of the day, if you will. The updates, well, it's a big one. We got a huge shipment of fish in yesterday. We're talking about mostly large male peacocks and haps. We did get some smaller unsexed fish too, but the majority of this shipment was large male peacocks and haps. Super excited about it. You're going to be too. Check out the website later on today. They will be made available. Actually, it takes so long to upload these videos, they'll probably be on the website before this video even goes up. But anyway, with that shipment that we got yesterday came the other update. We've been talking about it in the last couple of episodes, and that is we got a bunch of new members of the family that we put in here yesterday. Put about 15 fish in here yesterday. So what I want to do, putting these fish in the tank yesterday is kind of what inspired the topic of the day for this video. So I want to show you, break away for a second and show you the fish that we put in yesterday, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the topic of the day. All right, let's take a look. All right, here we are at the 240. Going to show you some of the new additions to the family that we put in here yesterday. I'm going to battle the glare a little bit, and I apologize about that. But the first guy to show you is this little Taiwan Reef. He's really cute, about 3.5 inches. We actually put him in about a week ago, so he's been in there for a little bit. But he is new. We put in a new dolphin. Oh, isn't he cute? Here's my dude right here, the VC10. Can't even see him because of the glare, but he's been in there a while. He kind of rules the tank with the big Venustus. Here is two additions yesterday. Got the red Empress and the Fusco. This Fusco actually surprised me. We ordered them small and unsexed, and they sent in a few bigger ones. So he's not really showing a ton of color yet, but he's definitely a male. He's about 3.5 inches. We also added some OBs, and one of them actually is not settling in very well into the tank. I can't tell if it's that guy or not, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Or actually in the topic of the day we'll talk about that. And then there's a little guy, I'm trying to find him here, there he is. It's a little rhodesi. He's about 3 inches, and we were a little nervous putting him in there because he's kind of small compared to some of the big guys in here, but he's been fine. Doesn't have a scratch on him. Let's see, where is the main man here? There's a couple of big ones. This guy here, I've been talking about him for weeks. It's a Buconodo, that's what I call him. And he's fast. You can see he got a little fin damage there on the top, and he's got a little scar right between his eyes. And that's something that we're going to talk about later. He's, had a little bit of trouble fitting in, but everything's okay now, and he's going to be fine. But, he wasn't greeted to the tank very nicely. And then we have this guy, and he's another one that had some struggles adjusting to the new tank, but he's doing okay. And this guy is huge. He's about a 6-inch Insignis. I've been waiting on getting one this size for a while. Really excited about him. He's not happy right now, but he will be. He's adjusting. And then there's one more guy here. I'm trying not to trip over my cord. This guy is the Borlei and Benjai. Had them on the website and did not have a photo of them on the website, and we had a few people order them thinking that we were selling them redfin Borlei, and they're not. They're Borlei and Benjai. They're not the Candangos, which is the redfins. That's what a lot of people thought that those were. So we had to clarify that before we sent them out. But that's a really, really cool looking fish. It looks a lot like the Insignis, but not quite as bright blue. Really nice looking dude. And then the rest of the fish that we put in were the OBs, and I don't think there's others. We put 2 dolphins in here, and then a whole bunch of OBs. So those are the new additions to the family, and Lisa's favorite is the little guy. She named him Rhodey. Rhodesi, that's how I say it. My favorite is probably going to be the Fusco as soon as he gets big enough to kind of, you know, isn't that nice? Phone rings, of course. There's a nice look at the red Empress. So anyway, let's go back and let's talk about the topic of the day. Adding new fish to your African cichlid tank. That's the topic of the day, and I think you know where the inspiration for that topic came from. We put a whole bunch of fish in here yesterday, and as you saw in the little clip there, most of them were welcomed with no problems at all. Some, not so much. So we're going to talk about the strategy involved, the strategy that we use when we're adding new fish to this tank. So it's a few general rules, that's all it is, that we like to follow. Most of the time it works, sometimes it doesn't. This thing is unpredictable, and you can't prevent all catastrophes from happening when it comes to your African cichlids. You can control water parameters, you can control decor and all of that, but when it comes to these fish beating each other up, you can do your best and it still might not work. But if you follow a few general rules, you should have the same success we do, and we have some pretty good success with keeping these fish. So what are those general rules? It's very simple. First things first, if you're going to mix Mbunas with peacocks and haps, make sure they have a size disadvantage. I get asked a lot, can all these fish be mixed? Because a lot of people will tell you you can't put Mbunas with peacocks and haps. This tank right here will show you that that's just not true. You absolutely can, but always make sure the Mbunas are smaller than your peacocks and haps. That way they'll always be smaller and they won't mess with anybody. They'll just kind of hold their own. You might get a bad seed and he might end up terrorizing the tank, and if that happens, get rid of him. But for the most part, if Mbunas have a size disadvantage, they will be fine. The next thing, the number one general rule that we like to use when it comes to adding fish to the tank is adding them in small groups. Now, understanding that an African cichlid tank is all about hierarchy. It's all about the big boss showing his dominance over the rest of the fish in that tank. And that dominance trickles down, all the way down, to the guy that's on the bottom of the totem pole. And that, as long as everything's in line, everybody's fine. But when you add one fish to your tank, I'm not telling you this is going to happen every time, but when you add one fish to that tank, everybody from the bottom up is going to want to show that new guy who's boss. So a lot of times, doesn't happen every time, but a lot of times adding one fish can be disastrous. So we like to add them in small groups, because what that does is disperses that, and it gets everybody confused, and there's chaos, and they don't have just one little guy to pick on. This is also how you can get away with having smaller fish added to your tank, is by putting a bunch of them in there. You saw in that video that little Rhodesi, he's only about that big, doesn't have a scratch on him, but the 5-inch Insignis, he wasn't welcomed with open fins into the tank. You can't see it coming, you don't know who's going to get picked on, but if we put that little Rhodesi in there by himself, that would have been a huge mistake. It's not a guarantee, but it's pretty safe to say that that would have been a huge mistake. So, making sure Mbunas have a size disadvantage, making sure that you put them in small groups to disperse the new guy syndrome in the tank are two of the main general rules. Now the other thing is females. I'm not going to get into the whole female-male ratio mixture and all of that kind of stuff, but one of the main causes, the two main causes of aggression in a tank are territory and females. Think about it. If you put a woman in a locked room with 12 dudes, what's eventually going to end up happening? It might take a while, but eventually there's going to be a lot of black eyes and a lot of broken noses in that room, because the dudes are going to fight over the girl. That's what was going to happen in this tank too. If you put females in the tank, they will have something to fight over, and they will. So if you're adding new fish to the tank, that might be one of the things that you want to look out for. You might not want to put unsexed fish into your established all-male tank. You might want to make sure you grow them up a little bit, see what you got, and then just put the males in there and do whatever you're going to do with the females. So females and then territory is another thing that they'll fight over. So we'll get into the territory thing and all of that in another video, because today we're really just talking about putting new fish into the tank. So again, I'm just going to recap, because those are the main rules that I focus on. Putting them in small groups, making sure that the peacocks and haps have a size advantage over the mbunas, and you should be fine. Now, you never really know. Like I said, little rhodesi, fine. Big insignis, he's getting beat up. He's not getting beat up anymore, but when we first put him in there, he was. You never know where the aggression is going to go. So it does take a little bit of patience, and you do have to keep an eye on things and make sure that they're not getting too badly beat up. If these fish were getting beat up to the point where I thought that they were going to die, we would have pulled them out. But they're not. They're fine. They're actually swimming around now. It seems like everybody's getting along now. They figured things out. Another phone call. Sorry, that's twice in this video. So you do have to watch. You do have to make sure that these fish are getting along before you can actually relax and know that everything's going to be okay. But the interesting thing about African cichlids, you all know this, is that everything can be perfectly fine, and then out of the blue, one of the fish can get killed. You just can't see it coming. But it's more likely that that's going to happen when you're adding new fish to the tank. So be careful with it. Disperse the new guy syndrome. Make sure they have an advantage over the mbunas as far as size goes, and it should be fine. You can mix mbunas, peacocks, and haps all together. We've got Tanganyikans in here too with the frontoses. So, you know, it can be done. Okay, so that was just kind of a really quick buzz through how we add new fish to our tank. I don't want to keep going on and on and on in these videos and bore you to death. I got to do another video. I've got to talk about a special that we're doing on the website. You're not going to believe it. Check tonight on the website. It's an unbelievable special. There'll be a video about it too. So I've got to go do that. The cool thing is I'm not going to have to run through at the end of all of these videos all of our different ways of communicating with us, because I've got a little outro that I'm going to play that'll show all of that. Part of the new intro and outro for Tank Talk. So take a look at that. Tell me what you think. And tell me your stories. If you've had some good stories or nightmare stories about adding new fish to your tank. So that's it for today. Like I said, I'm gonna go make that new video now. Hopefully it doesn't take me 2 hours to make it like it did this one. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.